Without wasting your time, we are going to share top 5 best keypad door lock. The product links are in the description and in first comment. The number 5 on the list is Schlage Camelot Keypad Deadbolt. Schlage Camelot Keypad Deadbolt. 3 years ago we purchased our first Schlage Keypad Deadbolt for our mill suite door, and we loved it so much we bought 2 more for our other exterior doors. It's amazing how much your life improves when you don't have to worry about carrying losing keys. We changed the batteries on every New Year's Day as a rule just to be on the safe side. The override keys were stored in a safe place, or so I thought. I'm sure you can see where this is headed. Yep, locked out in the pouring rain with guests arriving in 5 hours. The battery died after I'd accessed the suite to collect the linens. I'd locked the door behind me, went downstairs to load the washer, and when I returned it was a red blinking light and I was out of luck. But I knew where the key was, so no problem, except that the key wasn't where it belonged at all, and my husband had just boarded an airplane. Did I mention it was pouring rain? So after a few minutes of panicking and ransacking every drawer in the house, I called a locksmith. I felt instantly calmer when he arrived, but alas, he couldn't pick it, nor couldn't bump it. He tried for minutes in the pouring rain. Bless his heart, he called for back up. She couldn't do it either. They couldn't pick it, they couldn't bump it, they couldn't do anything. Heck, even with the key you have to do some key gymnastics to engage the bolt, and it just wasn't possible to do that with the pick, even with 3 sets of human hands trying to hold the various bits all at once. She offered to come back and drill the keyhole part, but expressed concern that all she'd accomplish would be the destruction of the lock without the benefit of it actually unlocking. She apologized profusely and they left. She gave me the number of a safecracker she knew. Yeah, I don't know, and I didn't but sadly that call went to voicemail. Maybe he was out busting into banks, who knows. After half a dozen phone calls to locksmiths all over town, I was getting more and more frantic. My husband's plane had landed by this point, and no, he had no idea where the key was. He did, however, call a friend with some power tools who was kind enough to rescue me. We decided. The number 4 on the list is Schlage Geo Camelot Keypad. Schlage Geo Camelot Keypad. I have only had my Schlage for a few weeks, but I am extremely happy with it so far. As explained in the review by Fred, it is very easy to install the lock, no harder than a standard mechanical lock. The only part that is a bit fussy is making sure that the wires are tucked into the plastic back plate so that they are not pinched when the interior portion is screwed on tightly. I did, however, have a frustrating, amusing and educational experience with this model. All the doors in our house use Schlage locks and deadbolts, which are all keyed alike. I initially ordered my lock from a major home improvement retailer so that I could have it rekeyed to match. I went to the hardware department and the 2 gentlemen working at the time looked at it and said they had never attempted to rekey one of these locks. They said they would leave it for Dale, who knew the most about locks. When I arrived later in the day, I met up with Dale, who had not been asked to rekey anything. We spent about 15 minutes searching for the lock until he found it under the service desk. As it turned out, it had already been rekeyed, so I went home to install it. After I installed the lock in the door, I discovered that the door would not lock at all. I took it off and reinstalled it to no avail, assuming that the gents who had rekeyed the lock had failed to reassemble it correctly. I returned to the store when Dale was working. He opened the lock and several components fell out. Although we both laughed about it, I had to return the lock and order a replacement. The number 3 on the list is Kwikset SmartCode Keyless Electronic Keypad Deadbolt. Kwikset SmartCode Keyless Electronic Keypad Deadbolt. I bought 2. The first install was easy and it works great, though somehow I thought I bought one that was Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and I didn't. But I may move this to another door and get the version that is enabled. It was also easy to reset the key to match the one I and pet sitters have. I love being able to go out on a walk without my keys, and I love not fumbling for my keys when get home. It will be wonderful for those who might need pet sitting or emergency access. I went to install the second and the lock worked when I just have the face on. But when I put the inside portion on and screwed it in, the lock would get stuck, not fully closed or no get past of locking, and time out thinking I screwed the backplate too tightly. I loosened it up a bit. This was better but not reliable enough, and I didn't want to get locked out, and it felt and looked wrong. After 3 tries, I called the Kwikset customer service and the person was super helpful, gave me clear instructions. We tried doing various resets to teach the lock and it got better, but not enough. She told me that the lock is both mechanical and electronic and sometimes the tricks to reset it work and sometimes it's just not quite right. So I got an email from them. I sent a photo of the inside and outside of the lock and a replacement is on the way. Super helpful and knowledgeable. I will say that I have a less expensive Kwikset keyless lock on another door, and while it is not as sleek of a look, it works just fine for this purpose, so consider that and I'll upgrade to a one next. Now that I love the keyless option, I have 5 doors, so this lock will find a home. We bought 2 of these locks and we're very impressed with the quality of the locks and the smart key rekeying feature. It's very simple to rekey the lock and took no time at all. The only very minor gripes we have are the loudness of the lock when locking and unlocking. The number 2 on the list is Signstek keyless entry door lock. Signstek keyless entry door lock. My husband and I bought this for our detached garage door because we didn't want to mess with a key. There was already an existing hole, so I can't speak to how effective the template was to help someone create a new hole in a door. But they did have instructions and a template for doing that include. I accidentally ordered 2 knobs, which was a blessing in disguise because the first one gave us problems. Installation was incredibly easy, but one of 2 screws used to connect the 2 knobs wouldn't go more than halfway in before it stopped and then started. Stripping the second knob worked great and we were able to get it installed, no problems. We didn't quite understand from the directions that you're supposed to pull out the black battery pack from the inside door handle, exposing a compartment for 2 additional batteries, so we thought it was a dud before stumbling upon that it's really easy to set and reset. Dear own access codes, we only need 1 for our house, but the instructions said it can hold up to 15 different codes. However, the numbers are really hard to see unless you're looking somewhat eye level. With the knob, the numbers are printed on the inside of the button, which is awesome because it helps protect the number from wearing off after constant use, but it does make it really hard to see. I'm probably going to have to set more of a sequence like 4 numbers in a row for my husband, but all in all it's a solid product. Once it's installed, I feel like my belongings will be kept safe. I have a special needs daughter and the rest of the family has to keep their doors locked to keep her out of their bedrooms. These locks, I have more than 1, are great because you don't have to carry around a key. Carrying keys would also be problematic for me because I'd have to carry multiple keys. Now I just have to remember multiple combinations, but that's not too big a deal. 1 of these did break, but the others in the replacement have lasted years. The number 1 on the list is Schlage Connect Smart Deadbolt. Schlage Connect Smart Deadbolt. I've been using this lock for 6 months in a vacation rental home. I love it and I'm thinking of buying a second one for the same home for redundancy. Don't want a battery to die and a customer can't get in. I installed the lock myself. I'm a fairly handy guy and was able to do the work with the help of a drill driver and Dremel tool. My prior deadbolt was installed really well, and this deadbolt liked where the previous one sat, so the installation almost went according to plan. Schlage has an extra set of lag bolts screws for extra security, so plan accordingly. Also, there was a small step that I missed and the lock initially wouldn't work. I had to reread the instructions several times and eventually found a step that I hadn't done correctly. My fault, so no ding to the rating. Programming the lock manually isn't too bad. Give yourself some time and make sure you keep the instructions and the existing codes I recommend you change the programming password. I recommend you take good notes. For 5 months I manually added deleted codes for my vacation rental guests and everything has worked great. It's so easy to lock and unlock. About a month ago I installed a Wink and now I love this lock even more. I was able to easily pair this lock to it. All the existing codes did show up in the Wink app, but I couldn't see those codes. I was hoping to rename the codes. There is a way to wipe all the codes and re-enter new ones, so that's what I did. I recommend you store these codes in your notes elsewhere. Once I learned the Wink app, I'm now using it to see who accessed the door, guest cleaner, my family. I can see the activity in the Wink app and I'm fairly certain that my guest is checked out. I can then use my Wink hub and other smart power plug S to turn off other devices in my vacation rental home to save power gas.